My husband cried. Actual tears. Standing in our nursery, surrounded by half-assembled IKEA furniture and paint swatches, holding a sonogram photo, he cried and said, "This is the only way I get to keep her." And I stood there, 6 months pregnant, hormonal, exhausted, and I felt absolutely nothing but dread. Because the her he was talking about wasn't our daughter. It was his mother. Who passed away 3 years ago. Whose name, and I need you to understand this before you judge me, is Hyun-Ja. I'm Emma. My daughter's name will not be Hyun-Ja. And apparently, that makes me the villain of this story. Let me give you the full picture, because context is everything here. I'm 28. My husband, Daniel, well, his full name is Daniel Kwon, is 32. He's a senior software engineer at a company in San Francisco, which is where we met 4 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday thing. I was in grad school. He was already killing it in tech. We fell in love fast, got married after 2 years, and honestly, our life is really good. Daniel is brilliant, patient, funny, the kind of guy who researches everything before making a decision. He spent 3 weeks comparing strollers. 3 weeks. He's that guy. His mother, Hyun-Ja Kwon, passed away from pancreatic cancer about a year before we got married. I never got to meet her. From everything Daniel and his family have told me, she was extraordinary, a first-generation immigrant who raised Daniel and his 2 sisters largely on her own after his father left, worked double shifts for years, watched Daniel graduate from Berkeley, cried at our wedding photos even though she wasn't there to see them in person. I genuinely grieve that I never met her. Daniel keeps a photo of her on his desk, next to one of us on our honeymoon. I love that about him. But here's where things get complicated. When we found out we were having a girl, I'm 26 weeks now, Daniel got very quiet for a moment, and then he said, with this look on his face I'd never seen before, "I think we should name her Hyun-Ja." Not, "What do you think about?" He said, "I think we should." And I said, gently, that I wasn't sure about that. And that's where this whole thing blew up. Let me be honest with you about why I hesitated, because I don't think my reasons are unreasonable, and I want you to hear them before the comments write me off. Reason 1, Hyun-Ja is a Korean name. I am not Korean. Daniel is half Korean, though he was raised pretty assimilated. English is his first language, he doesn't speak much Korean, he didn't grow up in a Korean household in the cultural sense. Our daughter will be a quarter Korean. And I have to ask, what is life going to be like for a blonde or mixed-featured girl named Hyun-Ja growing up in the United States? I'm not saying that's a reason never to use it. I'm saying it's a real conversation worth having, and Daniel shut it down before we could have it. Reason 2, we had talked about names. We had a whole list. Aurora, Lily, Clara, Maya. We'd been building that list together for months. The name Hyun-Ja had never come up. Not once. And now, suddenly, it wasn't a suggestion, it felt like a decision he'd already made internally that I was just being informed of. Reason 3, and this is the one that's hardest to say, I want our daughter to have her own identity. I want her to be a person, not a memorial. Not a vessel for grief. I love that Daniel loved his mother. I want our daughter to know her grandmother's story. But I don't want her to carry the weight of a woman she'll never know every single time someone calls her name. When I said some version of this to Daniel, carefully, kindly, I thought he got very still. And then he said, "So you want to just erase her? Like she never existed?" I was stunned. I said that wasn't what I meant at all, and he said, "What other way is there to read it?" He slept in the guest room that night. The first time in our marriage. I thought we'd talk it through in the morning and find a middle ground. We didn't. Daniel called his eldest sister, Ji-young, who lives in Seattle, and apparently told her what happened. Ji-young texted me a long message that I will not read in full, but the highlights were, "Our mother sacrificed everything, you're being selfish, and Daniel deserves to honor her." I didn't respond to Ji-young. That felt like a boundary I needed to hold. Daniel came to me 2 days later with what he called a compromise, Hyun-Ja as the first name, but we'd call her HJ as a nickname. Or, and this one really got me, we could use her mother's name as the middle name and put it first on legal documents so it would feel official. None of these felt like compromises to me. They felt like variations of the same outcome, my daughter named after someone else before I've even had a chance to hold her. I posted to Reddit because I needed strangers to tell me if I was going insane. The post got 4,000 comments overnight. The Reddit consensus was, honestly, more divided than I expected. The NTA crowd, not the a-hole, said I have an equal say in my child's name, full stop. That grief doesn't override partnership. That Daniel springing this without discussion and then weaponizing his mother's memory when I pushed back was manipulative, even if unintentionally so. Several people pointed out that naming a child to process your own grief puts an unfair burden on that child. The YTA crowd, and there was one, said that losing a parent is devastating and irreversible, that names are one of the only meaningful ways to carry someone forward, and that my resistance to even a middle name showed a lack of empathy for what Daniel was going through. The nah crowd, no a-holes here, said we're both grieving something. Daniel is grieving his mother. I'm grieving the pregnancy experience I thought I was going to have. And we needed therapy, not Reddit. That last one hit me. Because here's what I didn't say in my Reddit post. The reason I've been so resistant, even to a middle name, is that I had a version of this happen in my own childhood. My parents named me after my father's deceased first wife. Not my mother. His first wife. And I grew up feeling like a replacement. Like I owed something to a ghost. I never told Daniel this clearly. I'd mentioned it in passing once and he'd forgotten, or maybe hadn't understood how deep it went. After the Reddit post, I showed it to Daniel. All of it. Including the comments. And then I told him, really told him, about what growing up with that name did to me. He cried again. But this time, it was different that we're in couples therapy. We started last week. Our therapist is helping us work through Daniel's grief, which, it turns out, has never really been properly processed, and helping me communicate my past without it becoming a weapon in arguments about the future. We haven't settled on a name yet. But here's what we've agreed on: our daughter will have a meaningful connection to her grandmother's life. We're learning some of the Korean characters associated with Hyun-Ja's name and what they mean: wise, graceful, and we're looking at names in any language that carry those meanings. We're going to visit Daniel's mother's grave together before the baby comes. We're going to frame one of her photos in the nursery. Daniel told me last night that he doesn't want our daughter to feel like a replacement any more than I did. That's the most progress we've made in 6 weeks. So, am I the a-hole? Honestly? I think we both fumbled this. But I don't think loving your child enough to give her her own name makes you a villain. I'll update you when she's born. Pause. Her name will be something she can grow into. Something that's only hers. I think that's what Hyun-Ja would have wanted too. If this story hit you somewhere, drop a comment below. Have you ever been in the middle of a baby name dispute? What would you have done? Subscribe if you're new, we post new stories every week. And if you want to share your own story, the link is in the description. See you in the next one.